Hey, Mickey.
Hey, Bob.
Look, that's a picture of, who is that? That's some politician I should recognize, huh? Who is that? That's not, no. Who is that?
Future Speaker of the House, Steve Scalise.
Steve Scalise. He was once shot, right? He was shot.
Right.
By a crazy guy.
But he's not. Kevin McCarthy is supposed to be Speaker of the House, but I'm confidently predicting that Steve Scalise will, in fact, be the Speaker of the House.
Now, you mentioned the word prediction, actually mentioned the word predicting, but we're going to make predictions because this is our special New Year's.
Right. And we all know the consequences that fall on somebody who makes a wrong prediction.
They are expelled from the, you just can't make a living if you're a pundit who makes a bad prediction, or worse still, a bad recommendation. Like if you suggest we invade some country, doesn't go well, you're gone. You're gone. You're kicked out of the foreign policy establishment. But I digress. So anyway,
the Bob is like that.
Why is Bob wearing, lapels?
A pink muumuu.
It's not a pink muumuu. It's a bow tie. Look, bow. That's a bow tie. This is New Year's. Okay. Where's your bow tie? And it's more like a watermelon color.
This isn't some joke you've prepared.
No, it's a bow. It's a bow tie. It's a bow, and I tied it. And
it looks a little like you're wearing a dress.
Well, we're going to leave people in. You know what's going to happen in the Parrot room? The camera is going to pan downward. We're going to find out. But you got to pay for that.
It also says something on your dress.
Oh yeah, it says. What does it say? I'm reading right to left. It's this river in Tennessee.
Something river
where you can where I did whitewater rafting on the family reunion.
Okay, I thought this was a big reveal.
It was a big reveal. It was.
Okay.
That was. So we're taping this. We should say the day before Christmas Eve. It will show up in between Christmas and New Year's, and it will embody all of the wisdom that we've accumulated. I would say over our entire lives, not just the last year, right?
Yes, it depends on nothing happening over Christmas and New Year's.
Well, we won't. We're doing big picture stuff here. We're talking about sweep of history. We're talking
speak for yourself.
Hunter-gatherer to global village thing.
I want to know who shot Megan Thee Stallion in the foot.
Who is that? Who's
that
Megan?
Big picture? She's a rapper who got shot in the foot, and they're trying the guy she accused. And the jury is taking its sweet time to come up with a verdict.
I think we should avoid topical things like that, because that verdict could come down and people are just
probably already has come down.
Instead of smashing the like button, which we encourage, they might smash the stop button, the eject.
Okay, that was just an example of a non-big picture story. That's all.
That was good. You did well. And that was improvised, right? We didn't plan that. People wonder, Mickey, how much of this is planned? That wasn't even planned. We don't plan. We work without a net. Yeah. We are like, and look, let's face it, we're not spring chickens. You're not talking about like agile 28-year-old minds here. Although if people just listen and don't watch, they may think we're 28, right? But we're not. We're a little older than that. And yet we never discuss beforehand what we're going to talk about. There were a few cues this time, broad guidance this time because it's our special show, but I'll be quiet now.
Well, you're the master of ceremonies. So you want to lead us through the brilliant list of categories.
Well, where should we begin? We had agreed that we were each going to...
I do have 8 predictions. You
have 8 predictions? You got to save some for the Parrot room, man. We don't have... Oh, that reminds me, I forgot to start the timer. I'm going to do that now. Mickey, you got to exercise some discipline, man.
Okay, I'll do 4 of them. I've already done one of them, which is Scalise.
You are predicting he's going to be...
Yes, and I know what happens to me if I'm wrong, right?
You want to hear my big prediction?
Sure.
Before the first Republican primary. I'm going to say this one more time. Before the first Republican primary, Donald Trump is going to drop out of the election. He will not be a candidate when the first primary happens. I want you to remember where you heard it first.
He's not going to be a third-party candidate?
No.
Okay.
He's going to stick with this business he just established doing NFTs.
Okay.
Or something. No, he hates He hates to lose. It's going to be clear he would lose. And he, it's going to hurt, but he's going to realize, the smart thing to do is stick with the NFTs. You know how much, you want to know the genius of the NFT thing? So he sold 40,000 of them for $100 each, right? And
right. I think he bought a lot of them himself.
No, I don't think we do. Look, he's got at least 500,000 crazy diehard fans who would put down $100 for this.
Okay.
But here's the genius of it. Apparently, through the magic of blockchain, first of all, let me back up. There are enough crazy Trump fans so that there's an aftermarket, right? There's people who are like, oh, there's no more of them. I'll pay $150. I'll pay $200. Apparently, through the magic of blockchain, he makes 10% on each subsequent sale forever.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that in the terms of the contract?
Yeah, it's built in. It's a blockchain thing, I think.
That's almost as good as this deal I learned where a firm will like buy the brand Brooks Brothers, and then they'll license it to somebody who says, I know what I'm going to do with Brooks Brothers. We're going to turn it into a hip hop brand for youth. Okay. And so they license it, but they retain the right to snatch it back if they feel the brand is being degraded. Is that brilliant? So it's like win-win.
And they should snatch it because they always get degraded when they do these licensing things. Have you noticed that?
No, I haven't. I just learned about this licensing thing last week.
Yeah. So where are we? Okay. So that's my prediction. That's I only have one other prediction, I think. So you should do a couple, or should we move into stories of the year and then come back to predictions, or what? You tell me.
Let's do a couple of predictions and then do story of the year.
Now, are you in Washington, D.C., or you don't have to disclose that? Are you somewhere?
Yes.
You're somewhere.
I'm somewhere where it's very cold.
Because we can disclose, I think, that we watched the finals of the World Cup together in physical space. Someday we'll do it in the metaverse, but this was in an actual person's living room. People want to know these things, Mickey. They want to know. Okay. They want to know.
I watched so many World Cup games, I forget which ones were which.
You've forgotten me already.
Those are the finals. Okay.
Mickey, this was a very special moment.
No, I know one. So I claim that if Biden is going to run, and next year Democrats will embrace the laptop Hunter Biden scandal as a way to get Biden not to run. In other words, Democrats don't want Biden to run. And right now they're saying the laptop is BS. It's a nothing burger. Why are you talking about it? But when it comes time to push Joe Biden out, they're going to discover who the big guy is who got 10%, and it's going to be a scandal adopted by the mainstream media. So
wait, are you just saying they'll push the existing storyline, or maybe they'll have extra information that they'll kind of suggest might happen to come out if he doesn't?
Well, that would be gravy. But 10% of the big guy normally is sort of a fatal scandal, isn't it? I mean, if it's true, that his son was selling access and Biden was getting 10%, that seems.
Well, if I recall the details of this
I don't care about it, but
But if I recall the details of this one, A, the deal didn't happen. B, we don't know for sure he was the big guy. C, if he was, we don't know that he knew he was being referred to as the big guy and they were talking about this. And then D, even if it had happened, I don't think he was vice president then. So I don't think there would have been anything illegal about it. All that aside, and those are the details as I recall, I could be wrong. All that aside, there's definitely something a little shady about the way they did business.
But the whole point of the press being Dem leaning will steamroller through all those distinctions when it wants to. Right now, it'd say, "Oh, well, this is nothing for those reasons," and after a while, they say, "Well, so he wasn't vice president; he was corrupt," and I think he was vice president for part of it. Yeah. So that's whatever it takes. That's the meaning of this prediction: is that those things will not be an obstacle to press coverage.
Look, that's interesting. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, the out and out blackmail scenario that I trotted out, I doubt, but I think I think you're right. I mean, did you see this thing the other day where he said he said he'd been to Afghanistan and Iraq twice as president or something. And A, that's not true, apparently. But B, if you just watch him say it, God, he's just moving so slowly.
That's the ironic thing about this guy Santos, who's a congressman congressman-elect from Long Island. He's a Republican. He seems to have falsified large chunks of his resume or lied about it or deceived about it. And they're thinking of not seating him in Congress. The Democrats obviously would like to narrow the Republican majority even further. And, if they start bouncing people because they've lied about their resume, I mean, what are they going to do with Biden? He lies repeatedly about his resume, starting with that he was the son of a coal miner and going on to his, historic honors in college, which he didn't get. I mean, his life haven't been quite as big as this guy Santos, but where do you draw the line? So I just
preach it, brother. Let's get this guy off stage before it's too late. Oh God, that reminds me. I just saw the worst suck up puff piece about Kamala Harris by this Jonathan Capehart guy. Don't get me started. The Washington Post.
Worse than the suck up by Molly Jong Fast. We're in the era of Kamala fluff pieces. That was going to be one of my predictions. There'll be a failed attempt on the part of the press to rehabilitate Kamala before they give up.
Please.
But there have been two of them now. So every word, the precision of her language, Bob, is what Molly Jong Fast referred to. And I like Molly Jong Fast. It's unlike her to be like that.
Is she Erica Jong's daughter?
You betcha. The Hernstein principle. Or
this whole system is so rigged. It's nepotism from top to bottom, with the possible exception of me. I was a coal miner's son.
As a resident of Beverly Hills, I am all for nepo babies.
I know you are. You're Exhibit A, buddy. When the revolution comes, you're gonna hope
that's
I'll
not true.
A good word for you.
Jeff Bridges and Bo Bridges are Exhibit A. Their father was Lloyd Bridges, a famous actor.
Right.
They got their leg up in the business, and it turned out they're really good. A lot of these nepo babies turn out to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for nepo babies. If they're bad, they sort of don't succeed.
And
even if they're...
I could come up with counterexamples.
Okay.
I don't want to. We wouldn't need to get on with our New Year's Eve issues, but...
How about Frances Ford Coppola's daughter? She had that starring role in Godfather 3.
That's a perfect example of an exception. Yeah, as a director. I mean, did you see?
She was an actor. She was terrible, and
she was terrible in that. And then did you see the much celebrated Lost in Translation? I wish I'd been lost in. Oh God, have you heard it was good? Have you seen it?
No.
Don't.
Okay.
That's a perfect.
Somebody just told me that Maverick Top Gun, The Return, isn't any good either.
But that's a minority view. I haven't seen it.
Yours is a minority view in Lost in Translation too.
You know who you're hearing from? All your other friends in the nepotocracy. That's who's standing up for that movie.
That's a good word. I've been favored by some nepotism myself. So I have a dog in this fight.
Bob has a non-shocked look on his face.
The AOC will run. That's another prediction.
For what?
President. Why not?
Really?
Why not? They all want to be president. She has a better chance of being president than Mike Pompeo.
But does she have to give up her seat to do that? She can run for Congress at the same time?
It's a no-lose situation for her.
Oh, so she doesn't get the nomination and then she's back to running for Congress, you mean?
Or she's vice presidential pick, or, the only obstacle is if Bernie runs, but, that's like saying the only obstacle to DeSantis is Trump. Well, ambitious politicians have a way of overcoming these obstacles, So,
okay.
She's charismatic. She'll have a big following. I mean, I don't know.
No, she'll get a lot of free media, that's for sure.
I hope she pisses off Pramila Jayapal.
Little.
So have I filled my quota, or
Yeah,
there'll be a lot of pressure on Michelle to run, Michelle Obama.
Oh, please. I mean, I like her, but all these people with no relevant resume.
Only she can save the Democrats.
I'm not convinced. We have no idea how she'd perform on the stump.
Oh, we have a very good idea how she performed at the stump. She's very good on the stump.
We know how she delivers a speech. And for my money, she's a little too theatrical, but a lot of people like it. But that's all we know.
We don't know how she'd be as president. That's
we don't even know how she'd handle a campaign.
Okay. So let's see your big prediction.
My only other, first of all, I'd like to celebrate myself briefly for last year's prediction, which was that
we're not going into like all-in territory where the all-in podcast, the first half is entirely taken up with self-congratulation.
That and celebrating our friendship. I love you, man.
Bros, right?
I love you.
Okay. Let's get on. Let's get the self-satisfaction out of the way.
Anyway, on last year's New Year's Eve thing, I did say that China was going to pay the price for the no COVID policy because there was no built-up immunity, and the shit was going to hit the fan in the following calendar year, which it now has. I forget. Maybe at a more precise level, I didn't get the time.
Did you expect Xi to collapse that quickly and so thoroughly?
I'm surprised at how rapid the policy turned. It's almost like he said, "Oh, okay. You want to see what it looks like when we don't lock down? I'll show you." It seems pretty dramatic. I don't understand why it isn't a more phased-in thing, but I also think it's not going to be as gruesome as some people are saying. That's my new China prediction. Not as gruesome. So I only have to find one person who has said it's more gruesome than it will turn out to be. And once again, I'll be correct. So this year's prediction is just, well, if there is a peace, if the war truly ends in the next calendar year in Ukraine, Ukraine will join NATO. I mean, that part may not be official by then, but that will happen. That's part of the prediction. The other part is the war won't end this year. But if it does end, my prediction is it'll mean Ukraine has to join NATO.
And what's the logic of that? It'll be part of the deal to get Ukraine to negotiate?
I mean, I guess it assumes that Ukraine isn't totally on their heels, facing a massive Russian onslaught, fighting for their life. Because if that's the case, they'll probably really want a deal and settle for almost anything. But if the end of the war involves the U.S. pressuring them, which it plausibly could, very plausibly could, they're going to say, look, there's no way we can feel safe. And how can you help us? And I think nothing short of NATO membership is probably going to make them feel safe. That's my feeling. And in this scenario, Putin is hanging on to enough territory, including maybe all of Donetsk, which he doesn't have yet, and all of Luhansk, which he mostly has, and then some other stuff. He can still cast it as victory, even though Ukraine wound up joining NATO. He can say, okay, but we got the essentials that I said we'd get. They were already effectively members of NATO, and in a way they were. And so it's hard to find another deal that both leaders can live with politically in the near term, within the next year. Again, if Russia just completely crushes them, maybe things will change. I don't really expect that, but I certainly don't expect Ukraine to gain a ton of ground either.
Well, that's more favorable than the Musk terms of settlement, right? He didn't have Ukraine joining NATO. I think he had it neutralized.
Yeah, he had it neutralized, and he had had referenda in the various in the provinces.
Well, anything better than Musk, let's declare victory, right?
Okay. Quickly, I want to say I listened to, the latest thing I've heard in the war is just, I listened to this, Michael Kaufman has been about as right as anybody among military analysts. And his view is that Russia is probably not going to launch a big offensive during the winter. They'll try to make gains at Donetsk, but the kind of sweeping offensive that some people, including Douglas McGregor, envision happening at some point, he doesn't think it can really happen in
what
the
is
winter.
The town they're trying to retake? It begins with a B.
Bakhmut. I think they'll probably take that, but the big prize is beyond that, and Kaufman thinks that Ukraine can still defend those two cities that Bakhmut is supposedly the gateway to.
Did you read the David Ignatius series about how Ukraine's facility with high-tech weapons is changing the face of modern warfare?
I didn't.
And it means the Russians cannot win?
Well, it's certainly true that, well, what's the argument? We have weapon systems we haven't given them that we may give them that may mean that Russia can't gain a lot more ground. On the other hand,
we're once again talking about a series that I haven't read, so I was hoping you'd read.
I haven't read it, but
they have high-tech weapons.
No, but these Iranian drones that Russia's got are kind of a problem for us because we're going to give them this Patriot missile system, but and that's fine if you're fighting cruise missiles, but apparently each time you launch a Patriot missile, it costs you $4 million. Those Iranian drones cost $10,000-$20,000, and there's a zillion of them. So I don't know. They don't yet have a defense for the Iranian drones. And there's only one Patriot system. We're sending them. Anyway, we digress. Let's get back to our sweeping view of history in the future.
Okay, you wanted the three big stories of the year. I think they're going to be the same for both of us.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, Ukraine war.
Right.
I would say this you may not have. See, you'll have some midterm election shit that right. Yeah. Whereas I have the sweeping view of the past and future that is the reason people flock to this podcast. Right.
Okay.
So I don't deal in like
completely bereft. I have no sweeping views. That's been a problem lately.
Right.
I need more sweep.
Wait, maybe we should predict each other's. So what else would you have said besides?
Well, you know what the third one is.
Well, actually, I'll tell you my other two, and I don't think. First of all, I think you can fold the Ukraine war into another significant story, which is that this year it became kind of undeniable that we're in something like another Cold War with Russia and China. That's important. But let's just combine those and call them one story. Then I would say you may not have either of those. I would say the AI revolution hit big time.
I thought that was sort of like a Time magazine cover story. It's been hitting before. It was hitting. It's going to hit next year.
But that's the thing.
And just because this one firm produces this chatbot,
it wasn't just a chatbot. Two things happened. The image generation thing, and not just DALL-E 2 by OpenAI, which also did ChatGPT, but also Stable Diffusion and Midjourney. In fact, if you look at my last newsletter piece on Elon Musk, have you seen the picture of Elon Musk? Where have you been, man?
So made him look like a creepy clown.
Exactly. That was done with Stable Diffusion.
Not unlike the way my monitor just made you look. But anyway, okay.
But he did look like this guy in Blue Velvet. When they sing the Roy Orbison song? Anyway. But wait. So there's two different things. Actually, it was near the beginning of the year we kind of finally discovered GPT itself. Then which was like write this essay, and then ChatGPT was then putting a chat interface on that so you could really converse with it. And then the image generation stuff. The thing about both of these, ChatGPT and the image stuff is they blew away even pretty knowledgeable people. And that's why I'd say this isn't just a Time magazine story. It's like, of course, you can find people in Silicon Valley who say, I knew that, of course. But there were people who I think of as keeping closer track of these things than I do who were blown away. And, it certainly made me think. I mean, look, you're going to have significant economic dislocation. You're going to have, at the pedagogical level, it's like, it's going to be, they're going to have to return to in-class assignments to be sure that it's actually your work. I mean, especially at in a way, more at really good colleges with really smart people. Because the thing about ChatGPT is it obviously sounds smarter than your average high school student, right? It's but
that doesn't sound like a bad thing.
Well, we'll see.
It would eliminate a wealth disparity because people's rich high SAT parents couldn't help them out with all these essays, right?
Well, yeah.
And you wouldn't have a fancy computer with access to all
everyone can fake their essays now. And by the way, people say GPT-4, which is next year's model, is going to be significantly more impressive. People, I think people are finally starting to take seriously the so-called alignment problem, which I'm only barely starting to take seriously. The idea that if AI's values are not aligned with ours, you'll have a HAL in 2001 scenario or a Matrix scenario or something where the robot overlords
take over. Call it the HAL scenario. That's a better.
It's more, it's better.
Grabs you better.
It grabs you better. So I think AI is for real a big one. So
somebody should contrast the amount of displacement from climate change with the amount of displacement from AI, and I bet AI is much greater.
Well, by displacement, you mean different kinds of displacement, right? I mean,
I don't know, people losing their jobs, people having to move, that sort of thing.
Oh, well, yeah, but climate change is more like people having to move and less like people having to change jobs, and the AI is more like jobs, I think. So what is so we each have one story left, and try to guess my third story, or what is the one that you think is so obvious that is your third story?
Your story, the failure of the Iran nuclear deal, which Biden apparently concedes now is not going to happen.
No, actually, if I had gone Iran, I might have gone for protests in both China and Iran that got some degree of response, and in any event are interesting. I mean, I considered the deal dead, I think, a year ago, honestly. It's been, the Biden administration came out of the box almost 2 years ago, seeming to not give a shit about it. And it hasn't gotten much better. Now the Russia-Iran alliance is interesting, budding alliance, but anyway, go ahead.
The flourishing of cognitive empathy as it sweeps the nation in advance of Robert Wright's best-selling book.
No, I actually think Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter, not just because of the purchase itself, but because it highlighted a bunch of issues, like how important I think, well, it's not an original observation to say social media are in some sense important, but how problematic they are, how precarious they are. I mean, and in fact, I'll say one thing. Here's a piece of legislation we need. Okay, ready for this? This is big. It's important. You seem distracted. I'm not sure I have your.
No, I'm distracted.
I'm not sure I have the class's attention.
I made some notes on your article on Elon Musk, so I was consulting them.
Here's what I learned recently. So, when Instagram hit, okay, at that point, Twitter had a so-called API, something programming interface, I think, that lets you plug into its software and do certain things. And the nature of the API in those days permitted Instagram to make migration to Instagram very easy. You could just go to Instagram apparently and say, okay, I want to be following everybody I was following on Twitter who's on Instagram, and maybe it worked in the other direction too. And I want to let everybody who was following me there, who's here, know about it or something. But anyway, the point is, it was easy to transport followers and followed to Instagram in a way that it's not now. And the reason it's not is because Twitter saw what happened and changed their API. There should be a law that every social media platform has to leave that option open. That's the way you create competition. Okay. That's the way Elon Musk has to say to himself, wait a second, if I'm pissing everybody off, that's an actual problem for me, because they could leave.
How is Matt Stoller not hit on this law? Sounds reasonable to me. The thing with rivals to Twitter is interesting. There was a very funny tweet by my friend Scott Winship saying, please, what's the one that's not Mastodon is what? Is
Post?
The third one.
Post.
Said,
Post is owned by Mark Andreessen. Folks, don't fall under the sway of another Silicon Valley overlord. We need liberation here, but go ahead. I think it's owned by Andreessen.
Please help me to 45 followers on Post. Okay. Like people who have large followings on Twitter are having trouble getting 45 followers. No,
that's what I'm saying. That's
on the other hand, Garance Franke-Ruda claimed that her conversation had moved to Mastodon.
How many followers did she have on Twitter?
Popad has left Twitter and gone to Mastodon.
Has he? That's significant.
Or to the other one.
That's significant.
I think he'll be back. That would be a prediction if I didn't have so many predictions.
I'm going to take a serious look at Mastodon. I will have an address soon. I think I know what it's going to be.
Yeah, you in your piece on Musk, what you said there should be. They have this algorithm, and it seeks to combat bots and disinformation and hate speech and violence and all sorts of things. And you said it should be programmed to fight cocooning or tribalism. And bizarrely, I came across a post from Jack Dorsey, who was head of Twitter in 2018, when they unrolled this algorithm, saying we have to fight echo chambers, which is basically the same thing as tribalism, sort of part of tribalism.
Not exactly.
And he seemed to think there could be an algorithm that fought it, but obviously he did a piss poor job of it. So how would you fight tribalism with an algorithm?
Well, first of all, I mean, look, the problem is that there is tension between fighting tribalism and making money, probably. But
suppose you didn't want to make money, you just wanted to fight tribalism.
And you'd think if you were the richest man in the world, which he was when he bought Twitter, but not since the stock price of Tesla collapsed as a result of the purchase of Twitter. Anyway, you'd think if you're the richest man in the world, you might say, I'm not mainly here to make money. I'm going to try to do good. Now, he thinks he is doing good by restoring free speech, but he's doing that, as I argued in the piece in the Nonzero newsletter, which is not behind a paywall, I might say. He's doing the free speech stuff. Leave aside the hypocrisy, the fact that he's also shutting down speech when it pisses him off. He's opening, he's redressing whatever problem there was with free speech under the old regime in this way that exacerbates the tribalism greatly. He's being so hyper-partisan. He's just declared ideological warfare. And he's a completely irresponsible tweeter, as I document.
That's a different point. My point is how would you have an algorithm that helped? And I guess one obvious thing is it could sense when a tweet has followers from the blue camp and the red camp, and it could upgrade that tweet. Although how would you tell who's blue and red? I guess you classify them. And how would you tell if a follower from the red camp isn't just mocking the blue camp as opposed to actually engaging in conversation? I guess AI can help you there.
Yeah. Let me first say quickly, I caught a certain amount of shit from commenters for how outraged I've been about Musk. And people are like, why is Bob so triggered? Well, this piece in Nonzero lays out my argument. That's why I really am pissed off. It's a logical argument. you can say it's wrong, but you can't say I'm just triggered because of the reptilian core of my brain is inexplicably making me scream.
No, but
there's a concern.
There are two things. There's Musk not providing a free speech platform because he zaps various people who criticize him, or
that's not my complaint at all.
I know,
right?
But your complaint is that he is adopting a tribal tone in his personal tweets, and I'm saying if he wasn't a hypocrite in the free speech realm, we wouldn't worry so much about his personal tweets. So your focus is on the wrong.
No, I would, but it isn't just that, Mickey. It's not just that he's irresponsible with the truth, which I document. He is the worst kind of Twitter citizen. He's like the worst citizen in the history of Twitter, and he's running Twitter. Read the piece. An ordinary Twitter read the piece. No, he's not, Mickey. No, he's not.
You say he's like a horrible narcissist and egomaniac who likes to troll. He's like a guy, the normal guy who comes home every day after work, and in his pajamas, he tweets out a bunch of tribal bullshit.
Yeah, but he's a smart guy. He has no excuse. Look, Mickey, you and I are way better, and I can name 100 other people who are way more. Almost everyone I follow, unless I hate follow them. So, unless it's somebody like Aaron RuPaul, who's just a flat out, tribalistic exploiter of human frailty on the left, and there are also people on the right who do this. With few exceptions, I don't know anybody on Twitter as bad as Musk. And again, I show him in the piece doing these several kinds of destructive things. But anyway, what I want to say is it isn't just that. It's that, look, I acknowledge there was a problem under Dorsey because the content moderation had an ideological bias. He was alienating people of a certain ideology, anti-woke ideology, Trumpists, whatever. And that makes it hard for Twitter to realize its promise, which, granted, maybe a long shot anyway, but its promise as a place where elites of different ideologies come together and converse in a constructive way. Okay? I agree with that. I agree with that critique. But Musk is trying to remedy the problem by launching his own ideological counterattack that will do at least as much damage in the other direction. We've already talked about all these people who are trying to get off the platform. Okay? That's bad.
But I'm saying the important thing is what he does, not what he tweets. The thing that's really
I know you're saying that because you disagree with me. The thing that's really pissed
off the left is that he's banned several blue accounts that he probably shouldn't have banned. That's what's annoyed people.
No, I think you're totally wrong. You are 100% wrong. Alice from Queens, whose Twitter feed I again recommend, and she is somebody who believes she's not anti-Musk at all. I think because she believes, and she may have evidence, she was shadow banned under the old regime, and she tweeted, and she may have read my piece because she liked my tweet about it. She may have read the piece, but in any event, she tweeted. If something like, if Musk just weren't tweeting, there wouldn't be nearly as much outrage about him. And that is exactly right. That is exactly right. What, you don't think the Fauci tweet has anything to do with how pissed off people are and all this shit? You're nuts. You're nuts.
I think it's when he banned those 4 respectable journalists and Aaron RuPaul, who's not a respectable journalist.
He came out ideological from the get-go. So recommending the people vote Republican. And just
I don't think that really pissed people off.
No, that was the beginning.
He's a better blatant than Leighton. He has these opinions. It's better we know where he's coming from if he managed to repress them when he's administrating Twitter and keep the site open, then people would care less.
Should the commissioner of the NFL say, yeah, I'm an Eagles fan? Because that's not going to make any other fans think that the refs are cheating in favor of the Eagles, right? Of course it is. He's in charge of the fucking referees, Mickey.
Well, but if he is an Eagles fan, we want to know it. It's better.
It's fine.
You always draw this distinction between the public presentation and the private truth. I say let the private truth out so the public can judge.
I know you have what I consider a very naive view about a lot of these things, but that's just a difference of opinion. And just all I'm saying is it's a difference of opinion. I mean, I have a coherent argument. People can judge it. You are more of a free speech absolutist, I think. And it's, which
you don't think he should have banned everybody he banned, do you?
Musk or
there weren't that many of them. Musk.
No, I don't. But again, I don't think it's his biggest crime.
So the fact that I agree doesn't make me a free speech absolutist, although I would love to.
No, but I think you are to some extent. I mean, you think that Twitter should be treated like the government as a matter of law.
No, actually, there was a very hard to read Eric Levitt's piece, a guy who I don't think is a natural writer. It had the world record for "to be sure" paragraphs. I counted 6 of them.
About his free speech piece?
His free speech piece. But it did actually, now that you think of it, sort of convince me that there should be like an intermediate realm of free speech that is not the same as the government, but is a whole lot broader than Twitter has been. They should be able to ban some things that the government is not allowed to ban.
Yeah, I didn't read all that. I think the reason he has a lot of "to be sure" paragraphs because he's actually a good, responsible thinker.
Well, right. He's writing the anti-Musk piece that his readers demand, but he's honest enough to admit that, well, what Twitter used to do was really troubling. Yeah, well, that's the point. So anyway, it's
So what's your?
But it didn't. Despite all the "to be sure" paragraphs, it convinced me that maybe intermediate level scrutiny is warranted here.
Well, I think again, I mean that API thing I'm talking about, I think is significant. You have to make them really feel competitive pressure from not, from.
Well, we don't want competitive pressure. We want one town square that's free. We don't have a free town square because we built another town square and the people can choose which town square to go to. We have a town square because we make it free.
I don't know. I think there are people of good faith on both sides who would like to be. I want to be in a place where I read what Byron York says, and Byron York wants to see what the people on the
right.
left
And if there are 3 different places and you don't know which one to go to every morning, and Byron York goes to another one, you're not going to read Byron York. So you have to have one place where everybody has to go.
Yeah, but the point is, if we all want one that's not hyper tribal, we need some company have the ability to try to offer that, and for it to be plausible that there could be migration to that platform. Right now, it's just not plausible, and all we need is that API.
A non-tribal platform versus hyper-tribal platforms. The non-tribal platform will lose out every time. No, it's the armadillo in the middle of the road. In order to get a non-tribal platform, you have to have one platform and have it be non-tribal.
I mean, we'll see. I think there are enough people of good faith who would move over and it would work. We'll never know. But back to your question about what I don't know what the algorithm magic is, but I will say this. If you just get rid of the algorithm and go back to the way Twitter was 12, 14 years ago, that's an improvement. I mean, you see every tweet from everybody you follow. You don't see anything if they just like it, unless you go to see their likes. And that's it. That's the way Mastodon is.
And there's some reason they had to have an algorithm to serve you a bunch of stuff that is in addition to that.
Yeah, they wanted to make more money. They wanted to make more money.
They wanted to make more money? Okay.
Totally. They don't have to do that. Twitter was working great. Now, it still had tribal. Look, human nature is tribal. Social media are going to have tribal dynamics, but the algorithms, if you build an algorithm to try to increase traffic and virality, you're almost certainly going to wind up making the problem worse. So just get rid of the fucking algorithm if you really want to improve things.
That makes sense to me. Speaking of the algorithm, and this is not my prediction, but this is my story I want covered.
Wait, but what's your third big story? Did you tell us?
Twitter.
Oh, Twitter was your big story. Your third story. Okay.
My 3 stories are Ukraine, midterm elections, Twitter.
Okay.
Are they the same as yours?
Not midterm elections, AI, but yeah.
Okay.
So 2 out of 3 overlap.
On the algorithm front, I've sort of made this point before, but it's been driven home to me. The Barry Weisses and the Twitter files are focused on the big fish. Dr. Bhattacharya, if I'm pronouncing his name right, Charlie Kirk, they're being throttled, not shadow banned in the Twitter sense, but they're being muffled and their reach is being reduced. And there's this ridiculous argument that Levitz makes that he then takes back in a to be sure paragraph that it's okay to throttle Charlie Kirk because he already has 4 million followers. Well, maybe if he didn't throttle him, he'd have 8 million followers. I mean, that's ridiculous. So,
what a terrible world.
But
by the way, I think those guys were in the condition I described, the pre-algorithmic condition, where their followers see all their things. But I grant you that once you got an algorithm, that is relatively little influence.
But to me, the real threat of Twitter is that it's just pervasively biased against the right and in favor of the left. Not at the top, but all the way down, the entire pyramid.
Wait, you mean inherently? I mean, even now that
I think no. Well, maybe now it must, because I think the problem is not so much that woke millennials said, "Okay, we're going to screw over Mickey Mouse," because they don't even know who Mickey Mouse is. The problem is the seemingly neutral workings of the algorithm that they designed, probably in good faith, to get rid of misinformation and hate speech and all the things they want to get rid of. Encouragement of violence works against the right, and here, because at the very top, when they apply, here's my example. Ann Coulter was suspended; her account was frozen because she tweeted something nice about Kyle Rittenhouse. I think she said Kyle Rittenhouse for president. Okay, that's not inherently such an encouragement of violence. It's just saying Rittenhouse was, after all,
just saying. I think a guy who just killed some people should be president.
Right, maybe in bad taste. I mean, not. But the point is, they zapped that. They said that was a violation of terms. I link to Ann Coulter all the time. One of their criteria their algorithm use is who you link to. Do you link to the bad actors? Do the bad actors retweet you? Well, Ann Coulter retweets me all the time. Therefore, the algorithm linked me to the evildoer Ann Coulter, and because the people who violate the terms were very disproportionately right-wingers, the algorithm then propagated that bias all the way down the line through seemingly neutral equations that said you can't link to this person, or we'll downgrade you.
But wait,
I think that's what happened.
But I assume your claim is that what they did in this case was actually an ideological act. It was an anti-Kyle Rittenhouse and what he represents act, rather than some kind of straightforward suppression of hate speech or violence.
They're woke millennials. They think that was an encouragement of violence. That was my question. They think they're applying it fairly.
Well, that was my question.
But yet it is not applied fairly.
So that will change under Musk, right? He's definitely not a woke millennial. He hates woke people. He hates them. Okay? He has made that clear. He hates them.
It's I'm not sure he's fired all the woke people who are under him.
Well, give him time.
Okay, give him time. But there's a guy named Steve Saylor who nobody can link to because they think he's a racist. Okay, he survived, Jack. He survived the entire pre-Musk regime of Twitter. He did not survive 2 months under Musk. He's been suspended. Okay,
I doubt
that
Musk has control yet. Now you are hearing complaints. You are hearing complaints about. We're hearing them on both sides now. I have no idea what's going on, but look, give him time. If there's one thing he wants to get control of, it's this.
Right, but this is why I'm proposing a statesman-like compromise solution. This is why it could be substantively biased against the right, despite more or less good faith efforts from the Jack people and the people he hired to apply the terms neutrally.
Well, there's a lot of forces impinging on him, including the view of premium advertisers and stuff.
I mean, I just want to read you the list of criteria that Facebook has publicly said this algorithm applies. Who you follow, who you retweet, who mutes you, who follows you, who retweets you, who blocks you. Okay, so if most of the nodes that you want to really worry about you being connected to are right wing, the algorithm's going to downgrade you. It's yeah.
We should continue this in the Parrot room because I'm not sure I understand why you think this is going to persist under Musk. But we should. What else? Predictions. What else were we going to do?
I have more predictions. I have the stories that we need covering. I have an underreported story. I have a Comet Kahutek award for the story that was most disappointing of all stories. And I have have I said I have an endorsement of the year? I have an endorsement of the year.
Let's have it.
Okay, the endorsement of the year is from, damn, I can't find it. The endorsement of the year is from Michael McFall, who said, now that I have a Substack, I can endorse Dan Dresner's Substack. So the blob sticks together, Bob.
They do. Well,
and I knew that would endear you to Dan Dresner.
Well, Dan Dresner just retweeted something of mine. That was,
okay.
I think maybe I'm shadow banned because this tweet, it did pretty well, but it should have done better. It was right when Musk was when he was saying you can't link to Mastodon and stuff. It was like right when it was happening. I captured it was the right moment, and I said, Musk is starting to remind me of the East German government a few weeks before the Berlin Wall fell. And it did pretty well, but I expected better. Anyway, Dan did. So I'm pro Dan. I'm pro Dan right now. I'm not pro Michael McFall, but
well, he didn't endorse you.
Michael McFall didn't endorse me?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Okay, I think I want to encourage paranoia on your part, so I'm sure you're shadow banned, Bob.
Yeah, I could be.
It's
probably because of my association with you.
I thought it was because you were too anti-Musk.
I started thinking about that. After I did this piece, I started wondering, is that possible?
I think both the Musk and the anti-Musk people hate you, Bob, so you're going to be shadow banned either way. It doubles the amplitude. The two waves coming in means you're super shadow banned.
Why do the anti-Musk people hate me? Because they're like, that's about other issues.
The anti-Musk people hate you because you're associated with me, and I'm pro-Musk.
Seems like there's no way out here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the McFall tweet would have been funnier if I could have found it and read it. There's the underreported story of the year.
Yeah.
How close are we to time? Do we have time for the
I think we're about, by conventional reckoning, I think it's time for us to move on. But yeah, we're probably at about 50 minutes now.
Okay. The underreported story of the year is Israel's demographic time bomb, where they're going to have trouble remaining a democracy. They're going to have trouble remaining a democracy and keeping a Jewish majority because the Arab birth rate exceeded the Jewish birth rate. Is no more. The Jewish birth rate now exceeds the Arab birth rate. That's been turned around, and there is no more time bomb. So this whole dilemma that we thought the Jewish state was going to face in coming decades is no more. It's not there anymore.
Wait, if you're defining Jewish state as the more or less legally recognized borders. Right. In other words, not including the West Bank. They were in no danger of being swamped to begin with. And
I thought the theory was the Arabs were 21%, but they had so many more babies that they would soon be 51%.
I think that would take a while. Anyway, these ultra-religious they're breeding like whatever. I don't want to.
They've actually gone down a bit recently, but they breed a lot. But the secular Jews are also have a high birth rate. Both the birth rates are around 3, which is extraordinarily high by modern standards. The Arabs one is on the way down, and the Jewish one is on the way up. So I don't know. It seems like it's a big problem for your worldview that boy, Bibi's in trouble because eventually he's going to have to choose, and Am I wrong about that?
No. My question is always about the larger, I mean, including the West Bank and Gaza and everything, but especially the West Bank is like, it's just more and more a straightforward apartheid and suppression of a whole people and denial of basic human rights. And it's like, I guess you can do that forever, but it's more about that. I mean, no, I mean, where the when people advocate a one-state solution, a one-state democratic solution of like letting everybody in the West Bank vote, then that larger demographic picture becomes relevant, and it's one of the reasons that Israel is never going to permit that if they can help it.
But I thought the argument was that even the two-state solution was trouble because it didn't.
Two-state solution can't happen. I mean, it's like unscrambling an egg. If you've been to the West Bank, it's just crazy. It's just quit talking about it. It's like not going to happen. And I mean, don't get me started. Let's save this for the Parrot Room. If you want to talk about Israel, I'm writing it down.
I just wanted to discombobulate.
No, this was not. I was never thinking about the version of the demographic issue you're thinking about. I was not really thinking about it particularly at all. My question is, what is the long-term plan about the West Bank? Is it ethnic cleansing? Is it flat out apartheid? What's the third option that Israel has in mind? I can't think of one.
What is ethnic cleansing? Would be driving the Arabs out.
Yeah, well, they're making life more and more uncomfortable for them.
And apartheid would be what?
Well, there are arguments about whether it exists now, right? I mean, but certainly, it's like the more settlements you build, the more oppressive, in effect, life is for the Palestinians. The more you slice up their territory, there's roads they can't cross. They can't go see their cousin 4 miles away because they have to travel 50 miles around some road they're not allowed to travel on. It just gets worse and worse, more and more egregious. And I just, what is Israel's plan? I don't think they have one. I think they're in a defensive crouch and they think, we have no choice. And so, and I don't really think they need, truthfully, a close relationship with America enough. I mean, I think they kind of think they do. I don't really think they do, but I don't think that. I
thought one of the points of Walter Russell Mead's new book, I'm told, is that Israel doesn't really need America that much, and
I think that's true.
I think they probably agree with Walter Russell Mead.
Yeah. So even if you did start using the American political system as leverage, and that's nowhere near happening right now. But even if you did, if these young progressives grew up and took control of the system, I don't know how much it would matter. But
well, anyway, I don't know. I guess the point is Israel doesn't have to be all that defensive if their birth rate is growing as fast as it is.
I don't think that's relevant to the problem I'm describing.
All right. Okay.
I was not anticipating the Arabs who live in Israel proper, like taking over. So wait, you had a third thing.
No, the third thing, what? The Comet Kahutek story?
Yeah.
Trump's tax returns. Boy, was that a non-story when they haven't even come out yet, but we've seen summaries of what they are. And it's all like things like, were his expenses really business related expenses? Or did he really lose all that money? Well, they can't tell because the losses were carried over from previous years, so they don't know. Where his, he showed a bunch. A standard way to get around the tax on gifts is to pretend that they're loans. Okay, I thought of doing that myself. I didn't do it, but when my mother gave me some money, but he actually got interest payments from his kids on this money. Mm-hmm. So that's not incriminating. That's exculpatory. He got a bunch of interest payments. So, maybe he didn't satisfy every jot and tittle of the regulations, but they sure look like loans if you got $51,000 in interest. So it's just like the idea that the tax returns are going to send Trump to jail just completely fizzled. A bunch of much ado about nothing.
Yeah, and what about this congressional committee referral or congressional referral of, I don't think
that doesn't have any impact either. I mean, he could still be indicted and tried, and they could, that could still happen, and half the Republicans will be rooting for it.
Yeah.
The January 6th, the other story I want to see written, in addition to what was really going on with the Twitter algorithm that affected, the base of the pyramid, is what are the things the January 6th committee did not prove? The smoking guns they did not find, or even guns that weren't smoking. And the key one for me is they did not show what Trump wanted to happen when the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers got to the Capitol. They do not show him actually involved in planning violence. They showed him not restraining them. They showed him, not wanting to tell them no violence here. Okay, but it doesn't show the level of planning that we'd hope to find to really nail him, which is you go to the Capitol and you rip up the place and stop Pence from casting that vote. He didn't do that. The most likely truth is he had no fucking idea what he wanted them to do when he got there. He was playing it by ear, but if you really want to convict him, you have to have him thinking the bad thing, which is violence.
I gather that the committee, in making the case for incitement, actually put emphasis on the tweet I've been emphasizing, the Pence tweet on the day of the thing, which is different from a pre-planned thing. I grant you, but I think it's significant, and it may not legally constitute incitement, but and look, I don't particularly want him to be indicted. I don't think it's good for them to prosecute.
It's certainly impeachable, and a friend of mine who's a reporter said, and this was, I guess it was 2 years ago, but was it 2 years ago? Yes. So it doesn't count as last year's. But if they impeached him the next day, they would have had time to throw it to the Senate and have the Senate have to have a trial, which is probably what they should have done. They should have, on January 7th, they should have said, you did nothing to stop this. You waited 2 hours. Even though we don't have this tweet, that's an impeachable offense. Sorry, you're impeached. And then let the the Senate probably still wouldn't have impeached him, but wouldn't have removed him, but that would have been a good thing to do.
Yeah. So is this the end of our New Year's edition?
Yeah. The next one will be much more celebratory for me, because Congress
the Parrot Room will, or what? Or
the future editions, because as you know, I will declare victory if there's no chance of a large amnesty or a refundable child tax credit, and there are perilously few reasons to think that it might happen, and there's only really one outstanding now.
Hey, here's a question. Shouldn't the Republicans, if they're smart, restrain their natural impulse to do a big Hunter Biden investigation now that they control the Congress? Because doing that will make Biden less likely to be the nominee, and they should want him to be the nominee, because then they'll have somebody they could beat. I am virtually the inventor of 45-dimensional chess.
I'm not sure I'm not sure they think that, because Biden did beat them once. And the Democratic field looks awfully weak when you
Biden beat a very vulnerable Trump back when Biden was.
Well, Trump's even more vulnerable now, but
Trump's not going to be the nominee,
right? So the Republicans think DeSantis can beat Biden, so why knock out Biden?
You should never assume these things.
I mean, why keep Biden? Why keep Biden?
No. I mean, wait. You just made my
why
case.
Not keep Biden?
Thank you. You just made my argument.
Keep Biden?
Too late. I win.
It's not clear to me that if you raise Hunter Biden, why does that make Biden more likely to stick around?
No, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. I'm saying they should not do hearings because dwelling on the issue will make Joe more likely not to be the nominee, and they should want him to be the nominee. So they should not do the hearings into Hunter.
And I don't think they're that scared of him being the nominee.
No, they're not scared of him being there. You mean?
I don't think they're that eager to get rid of him. Sorry. I can't even play one-dimensional chess. What can I say? And I'm up against
we know what I mean.
45-dimensional chess.
And we know you disagree.
My instinct was that they shouldn't bring up Hunter Biden because they should focus on the big issues of what do you want to do with the economy? What do you stand for? The very issues that Kevin McCarthy is unable to address, as opposed to these little partisan things that show they're just little partisans. And if you elect them to all the levers of power of government, they're going to pursue their confused little partisan agenda. Republicans desperately need something they can agree on for where they want to take the country, and focusing on Hunter Biden is not going to do the job for them. But then I thought, well, but half the Democrats will be rooting for you to get Biden with Hunter Biden, and maybe it'll be a good thing to resolve that issue.
Okay.
And then get it, then you have Ron DeSantis steamrolling Bennett of Colorado, and we are into the DeSantis era.
So, okay, Parrot Room. We're about to move on to patreon.com/Parrot Room, as is our want. And what are you going to talk about? I have something big. Big. It's big.
I have a bunch of little things. So
okay. Well, that's maybe a difference between you and me. What are some of your little things?
It is today. What were my little things? Hang on. The root causes of homelessness. We never talk. It seems pretty clear what they are.
Child tax credit.
Should we legalize cocaine?
No, that's a good question. That's a good question. Did you take your Sudafed?
I did take my Sudafed. How hard is that to believe?
Do people realize that if they subscribe to Patreon, they get to see you actually snorting the Sudafed? Have we ever told them that, or is that just a well-kept secret?
It's a very well-kept secret because it's not true.
But it could happen, right? I mean, if we reach that magic 1,200 patrons.
I could. No, snorting Sudafed doesn't do any good.
Well, you have to chop it up. Yeah, but
your body can't absorb it like that, can it? I think you have to mainline it. Anyway.
Well, that's like 2,000 patrons before you actually do that.
They've discovered how to 3D print wood. See, I mean, these are all topics where once you give the title, there's nothing else to say. That's the problem. There's the clawback from SPF.
Oh, yeah. Is there more to say about SPF? Let me think. I'm sure we can think of something.
Yeah, there's
250 million in bail. Hey, shouldn't somebody else get that money, dude? If he's got 250 million, he should immediately turn it over to people he owes it to.
Well, he just has to buy the bond.
Oh.
So I would think he'd be a huge flight risk, though.
You'd think. But I bet the bond costs what? Millions and millions, right?
Well, yes, that.
Okay. So what else? Anything else?
Well, there's this weird semi-possible scandal involving the vast overreporting of jobs during the pre-election run-up by the BLS. Anyway, that harks back to an earlier scandal, non-scandal.
BLS. Okay, so
nothing's more exciting.
I agree. We should have a big drug legalization conversation, and I think we should go well beyond cocaine because we're nothing if not out of the box thinkers. So I want to talk about a couple of things. Well, one, a little bit of evidence that in exactly the manner I predicted, the woke tide is starting to turn. The anti-woke movement is starting to get a little real purchase, even at elite universities. I'm going to talk about that. In exactly the manner I predicted, by the way.
Okay.
Did I say that already?
I'll be looking forward to the actual evidence you have of this.
I'll give you a hint. It was exactly in the manner I predicted.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
one of us is wearing a dress, so I just want to say that.
It's not a, oh man. And it's not pink, it's watermelon. It's watermelon.
You tell yourself that.
It's salmon. It's salmon. Salmon is
salmon is
meat.
Never seen it.
Salmon is meat.
If I had a salmon that looked like that, I would send it back to the kitchen.
Well, I like my salmon rare, like a real man does, Mickey. Let's see. Okay. So first of all, the whole, I've learned more about the whole biological weapons, what is the CIA ultra thing called, where they were giving, the very mysterious, the death of Frank Olson, the guy who supposedly jumped out of a window after they gave him some LSD in the 50s. The connection of that to U.S. bioweapons program. And here's the amazing thing I'm going to do. I'm going to connect the U.S. bioweapons program in some sense, conjecturally, hypothetically, yes, but to the lab leak hypothesis. Okay. Yeah. I did actually learn something very significant about lab leak that has led me to up my estimate from like 50 or a little higher to more like, I don't know, 70, 80%.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think, but this is really something interesting I found out about, and it's really changed my view of what may have happened and the way it may have involved, in some sense, maybe U.S. bioweapons research, possibly more on the defensive side than the offensive side, but stories getting.
And I have at least 3 more predictions, and one of which is the COVID origin charge that is even too crazy to have yet been made, but I predicted it will be made. So
we got good stuff. Also, I watched the first episode of the White Lotus, so I'm finally able to knowingly read tweets about it.
That's pretty great. It's more than I've been able to see.
See, that's what I mean. Is I'm always a step ahead.
And I can tell you what the job that the people were doing in Severance reminded me of.
Oh, Severance. When is the next season of that going to show up? See, I like that more than you do.
Ask me if I care.
I know. That's what I mean.
Anyway.
Well, you'll be glad there's going to be a streaming shakeout, Mickey. That's a big story. Okay. So we're gonna go to the Parrot Room, patreon.com/Parrot Room. And happy New Year. And we should thank people. We should thank people. Thank them for staying till the bitter end of this one.
Thank you and Happy New Year.
That parrot's got microphone problems. I'm telling you.
Thank you and Happy New Year. How about this?
No, seriously, can you hear it at that end?
Totally.
This is bizarre. There's some kind of the parrot has been shadow banned. The parrot has been Elon Musk. This really picked up pace after my Elon Musk piece, didn't it? The parrots.
This is our worst fear is realized.
Yeah. And I think the parrot. This is weird. It's very strange.
I don't understand it. I think some.
Oh, I know. Wait. Maybe it's your lapel mic on your head. This is a good. I
don't have a lapel mic on my head.
You sure?
Yeah.
Too weird, man. Okay. So even though the parrot is mute, we're going to the Parrot Room.
Okay. See you there.